only with two variables, then this is a case of a simple regression. But as in multiple correlation, there is one dependent variable and there are k number of independent variables, x1, x2, xk. Y is dependent and it depends upon number of factors. Then this is a case of what is called multiple correlation, right? Okay. Now, what is a simple? But all, whether it is a simple correlation or whether it is, simple regression or multiple regression, all of them are studied through linear regression. That's why called linear regression model. That means what we are assuming that there is a linear relationship between y and x, right? If there are two variables, and if you plot x along x-axis, y along y-axis, then the points must be along a straight line. Then and you can go for the linear simple regression model. If there is a curve type of relationship, this type of model will not work. There are other models then, right? So you, in our 10th standard, we know the equation of a straight line. Is there any participants who can tell me what is the equation of a straight line which we have learned?
Y is equal to a plus bx.
A plus
Bx.
Very good. Sometimes we write y is equal to mx plus c, and sometimes write y is equal to a plus bx. Let's look at y is equal to a plus bx. Now this is a equation of a line, right? Now let's say I give you the value of a, I also give you the value of b. Suppose value of a is 3, value of b is 5, and now your equation will become y is equal to 3 plus 5x, right? Now if you give any value to x, if I give any value to x, then value of y will be known to me, yes or no?
Yes.
So
Sir.
basically for some value of x you are going to predict y. That's why the name comes linear regression model, because it is based on the assumption of linearity. It is based on the equation of a straight line, and the equation of a straight line is basically beta naught plus beta 1x, which we call as a plus bx. So here I am writing y is equal to beta naught, that is your a, plus b, a plus b x, where b is your beta 1. Forget about this epsilon. So if you consider up to this is the equation of a straight line, yes or no? If you forget about epsilon, then this is equation of a straight line. Y is equal to mx plus c, or you can say y is equal to a plus bx. Now, if you have equation of a straight line, that means all the points are on the straight line basically. But when we have a scatter plot of this type, let's say I show you. Suppose this is a scatter plot, and if you drop a line from the center, do you think all the points will be on the line, or there will be some points which are slightly away from line also? Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
There will be some points. There will be some points which are away from line, right?
Yes, sir.
So that means I have to study the nature or the behavior of these points also. That's why in our model we include this error actually. We include this error which is called measurement error. What is this measurement error? In statistics model we always include error which is called measurement error. Now what do you mean by this measurement error? Let's say I measure the height of a person and I am giving my answer as 157.8 centimeter. Now I am out of the room and the next person has come and he again measured the height of the same person and he says it is 158.78 centimeter. He has gone up to 2 decimals. And this person is out. Now the next person has come up and he says, no sir, it is 158.875 centimeter. So you can see a little bit of change in all the three observations, little bit of change. If you measure the blood pressure of the patient by one machine, and if you measure the blood pressure by the another machine, do you think they will give you exactly same result? Yes or no?
No, there would be a difference.
There will be a little bit of difference. There will be a little bit of difference. And that difference is basically called measurement error. You follow my point, right? And that measurement error we always write this as epsilon. So there will be some kind of error always involved in modeling, and that is this epsilon I. And error will be for each point. Error will be for each point. I will tell you what is the meaning of this error. If there are n points, there will be n number of errors. So if your point exactly lie on the line, there will be no error. If it is some point is slightly very close to line, then there will be very small error. If it moves far away from line, error will increase. So therefore, every point there will be error. And we write the model as y is equal to beta naught plus beta 1x plus epsilon I. What is our aim? Our aim is to minimize this error. The more the error, bad is the fit. The smaller the error, good is the fit. So you try to remember, our aim is to minimize this error. And in mathematics or statistics, there are methods to minimize the error. So we minimize the error. Yes, please.
Sir, this error can be human error or a technical or instrumental error.
It could be anything. It could be anything
Right.
which is beyond your control. It could be anything which is beyond your control.
Right.
Right. So now our aim is to minimize this error. The smaller the error, better will be model. Yes or no? The smaller the error, better will be model. If error goes to 0, you will be having 100% prediction. But whenever you see watching a television, there is next day's forecast. Then it doesn't say there is 100% chances of rain. It says 90% chances of rain, 88% chances of rain, thunderstorm this much, humidity this much. Yes or no? Not 100%, but in terms of certain kind of percentage. What I'm saying is correct? Yes. Yes. Hello.
Yes, sir.
So that means for any model, you cannot predict 100%. You cannot predict 100%. But if it is close to, the better will be fit. So our aim is to minimize this error. So in mathematics or statistics, there are principles. That principle is called principle of least squares. That's a mathematical method. We minimize the error sum of squares. And while minimizing the error sum of squares, your beta naught gets estimated from the data. Beta 1 also gets estimated from the data. Epsilon will go to 0 because you are minimizing this. So it will approach to 0. And you will get a model like this. You will get a model like this, that y is equal to some value plus some value into x. Now you give any value to x, you can predict y. Yes or no? Because error will go to 0. These will be estimated from the data. So you give any value to x, you can estimate y. Let me give you an example of a simple linear regression. Suppose I enter a class, and in my class there are 30 students, right? But on that particular day, 28 are present. 28 students are present. I am having a weighing machine with me and also having a measurable tape. So I can measure height and weight of each and every student. So how many observations I will get? 1, 2 up to 28. So I'll get 28 number of observation. Y1 will be your weight of the first person and x1 will be height of the first person. Then y2 and x2, second person. Then y3 and x3, third person. Weight and height, weight and height. So I'll be having 28 pairs of values. First value is concerning with weight, y, x is concerning with height. Now I'll be having 28 observation. 2 people are absent on that day. 2 students are absent. Okay. Now based on these 28 observations, I'll fit a model equation of a straight line like this, that there is a linear relationship with if height will increase, weight is likely to increase, right? So, and minimize this error, error will go to 0. And let's say these parameters are estimated. I have an estimate of this. I also have an estimate of this. And now your estimated or the predicted value will be y hat is equal to some b naught plus b1x, where b naught is known to you, b1 is also known to you, and x. Now, next day when I enter the class, the students, those 2 students, they were absent yesterday, now they are present. But why? By the time weighing machine is not with me, I don't have a weighing machine, but somehow I can measure their height. I call the first one who was absent, measure the height, and substitute in the equation is already with me, that y is equal to b naught plus b1x. Now I substitute the height of the first person, X. What I will get? I will get the weight of that person without weighing machine. That is called prediction or estimation. Similarly, I'll call the second person, measure its height, substitute here, I'll get the weight of that second person without weighing machine. Hopefully these things are clear to you what I'm saying. Is that okay? Hello?
So we will get predicted values, predicted weight.
Yeah, you will get predicted value, right? So you will get the actual. Now, let's say there are 28 students. If I start substituting the height of each and every one, so there will be two kind of values for 28. Which values? One is the actual value which you have. Another is predicted by the model, right? So one is yi, another is yi hat. Yi hat is predicted, yi is actual value. These will be available for 28 because of this equation. Because this equation, you already have the actual value for 28. Now, if I put the individual height of 28, I'll get the predicted value also. Suppose there is hardly any difference between the actual and predicted. Almost the difference is 0. What do you think? Your model is good or bad? Yes, please.
Good.
Very good. Your model will be good. This is called residual or error. This is called residual or error. Smaller the error, better is fit. This is how we do the regression, basically, right? So in simple linear regression, our equation is all parameters are written like this. This is called the dependent variable. This X is called independent variable. This is called the slope coefficient or slope of the regression line. This is called intercept. And this is called random error, which is beyond your control. So we minimize this error and these parameters will get estimated. Now you give any value to X, you will get Y. So after doing all the calculations, your picture looks like this. This is the original data. And to draw a line, let's say I'll have a line of best fit. This green line is line of best fit. How the line of best fit is this one, when these are estimated. So this is the estimated from the data. This is estimated from the data. Now you give one value to X, you can estimate Y. Give another value to X, you can estimate Y, right? And to draw a line, you need only 2 points. So in the scatter plot, let's say one point is here, another point is here. I draw a line. This is that green line. This is that green line. So green line is the line of best prediction, right? Though if the point will be exactly on the line, error will be 0. For example, for this point, error is very high. This is called random error, right? So smaller the error, better will be fit, better will be the model. So this is what we mean by this error. And our aim is to minimize this error. And once we minimize the error, error will go to 0 and you will get this equation. Now you give any value to X, you can estimate Y. All right. So this is called simple linear regression model involving only 2 variables. Any doubt in this, please?
Sir,
Yes.
so like outliers, if there is outliers in our data. then
Yeah.
it is
Outliers. If there is an outlier in your data, then obviously,
so can we include that in error form? Hello?
no, outlier is not an error. Outlier is not an error. Outlier is an observation, basically. It may be very influential observation. It could be a wrong observation, right? So outlier, while detecting the outlier with the help of, let's say, box plot, will give you some idea whether there is something wrong with the data or I have to retain this into the model. I have to retain this into the model. If you have to retain this into the model, then this type of model may not work because there will be a departure from linearity because of one observation. Your line points may not be along a straight line, right? There may be departure from linearity. In that case, we will be using what is called non-linear type of regression. So there is a non-linear regression also, right? So you have to be very careful. But in this workshop, we are not covering non-linear correlation and non-linear regression. That is not part of this workshop. Then we have to treat them separately and with a different kind of approach in modeling. Is it
Okay,
clear?
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is what we mean by simple linear regression model. And extension of simple linear regression is multiple regression. where there will be one dependent variable, but number of independent variables. For example, this is a dependent variable and it depends upon number of factors. X1, X2, Xk. Yield of a crop depends upon number of factors. IQ depends upon number of factors. Blood pressure depends upon number of factors. But there is only one dependent variable. So your equation will look like this. It is just extension of two variable to multiple variables. Here you can see y is equal to beta naught plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2 plus beta 3 x3 plus beta k xk plus epsilon, some error, which is beyond your control. But please remember, multiple regression is applicable when all y has to be measurable quantity, x1 has to be measurable, x2 has to be measurable, xk has to be measurable. If there is any category out of x1, x2, xk, any one of them is categorical, you cannot apply multiple regression. Even if y is categorical, dependent variable is categorical, 1 or 0 form, you cannot apply multiple regression. Then there are other type of regression like logistic regression, logit regression, probability regression, other type of regression we have to deal with. So here the biggest condition is that all y and x1, x2, xk, they have to be metric variables. Remember this. Again, we minimize the error sum of squares. And then we get this type of estimated equation. These parameters will be known from the data. Now you give any value to x1, x2, xk, you can estimate y. And these are estimated using the method of least squares. And then I will discuss about the R-square also, multiple correlation coefficient, that makes sense in multiple regression. And what is the meaning of adjusted R-square in practical example. So this is what we mean by multiple regression. Multiple regression is an extension of simple regression to more than 2 variables. Let's say k variables. Yes, please. Any question up to this? This is all theoretical part. Now I'll come to the practical part. Any question? Now the theory is over for simple regression, multiple regression, all correlations I discussed. The theory part is over. If you have any question, you can ask me.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, in multiple regression, we cannot use categorical data. Like if we say educational qualification, like primary, if primary is equal to 1, secondary is equal to 2, then it is
That is not allowed in multiple regression. Multiple regression, the biggest condition is that all they should have to be metric variables. Of course, let me give you some idea. Of course, there are techniques to include categorical variable into multiple regression model, and those techniques are called multiple regression with dummy variables. Multiple regression with dummy variables. But that is beyond the scope of this workshop.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other question, please? Any other question? So should I move on to the practical demo?
Sir, the measurement scale, if we use Likert and if we sum it up, can we use this in multiple regression?
Very important question. Very, very important question. Very important. You see, let's say you are looking into relationship between anxiety and depression. Anxiety has been measured on 5-point scale. Depression has been measured on 5-point scale. Now, can I apply this type of regression or not? You can apply, provided your y and x, both of them, they satisfy the assumption of normality. You look at the shape of the histogram of y, you look at the shape of the histogram of x. If they are almost normal, you can apply multiple regression. There is no harm. Hello.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Any other question, please? And another thing which I want to mention, that sometimes what happens, if you are using some kind of Likert scale, 5-point scale, and let's say there are certain dimensions of particular parameter. For example, say to measure depression, I may be having 5 questions. It can happen. To measure anxiety, I may be having 10 questions, right? Because One dimension depends upon number of factors. So in that case, what we generally do, if there are 5 questions which are relating to anxiety and their responses are in terms of 1 to 5, you note down the responses. Suppose there are 50 participants or 50 patients or whatever you want to say. Then you have basically, for the first question, you have options 1 to 5. For second question, you have options 1 to 5. Some of them may be having 2, some may be having 3. Now, at the final stage, what you can do to look at the anxiety score, entire anxiety score, you sum up all these scores in the first row. That is the total score for first person. Similarly, second one, total score. Third one, total score. So you will be, if there are 50, you will be having 50 scores, total scores for anxiety. Similarly, 50 scores, total score for depression. And on those total scores, you can also apply simple regression because it is involving 2 variables. So that is also possible. You follow my point?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So with this background, let's come to the practical demonstration of simple and multiple regression. All right. Let me open up some of the data files which I already have with me. First of all, I will discuss about the correlation, simple correlation. It is not opening up. लगता है कंप्यूटर गर्म हो गया. Okay. Let me see how I can open this file. All right. There is another method which let me try. Let me open from here. Just give me a moment. Go to File, Open. We have it on the folder on the desktop. Folder is SPSS1. Then there is data. And then there is a file which is called correlation. This is correlation. Okay. Open. Now it will open. So here is the data. Now data is like this. Please try to understand. This is a gestational age and this is birth weight. When the newborn babies are born, it depends upon the gestational age of the mother. Generally, the normal period, is 9 months and the delivery can happen anywhere between, if it is a normal delivery, 37 to 41 weeks. Everybody knows that, 37 to 41 weeks. But if there is a premature, which is called preterm also, premature delivery, let's say it happens at 34 weeks or 30th week, then weight of the baby will be less. And if the weight of the baby is less, then obviously there will be many complications to the baby. He or she has to be baby has to be put into incubator. You must have seen small babies put into incubator, right? They are having many other complications also. So we are looking at what is the relationship of gestational age with birth weight. Obviously, if it's a complete term baby, then birth weight should have been okay, right? Generally, any birth weight anywhere between 2.5 to 3 kg is considered to be normal. Basically, it has to be between 2.8 to 3 kg. It's normal. Beyond 3 kg, 3.5, 3.2, it's absolutely normal. Anyhow, so that is somebody is interested to look at the relationship between gestational age and birth weight. So what is the problem? First is to look at the scatter plot. Can we apply Pearson or not? So let's look at the scatter plot. So I'll go to graph, scatter plot, and in scatter plot, define, say, gestational age on x-axis and birth weight, which we want to predict on y-axis. Whatever you want to predict will have to be put on y-axis. I cannot put gestational age on y-axis because according to gestational age, birth weight will vary. Not according to birth weight, gestational age will vary. It's not opposite. Age depends upon blood. Blood pressure depends upon age. Right? It's 90 plus age. But age does not depend upon blood pressure. So you have to be very, very careful. Okay. Now let's look at this simple scatter plot. Can we compute curl Pearson or not? Because for curl Pearson, points must be along a straight line, either increasing or decreasing. Let's see the trend. So here is the scatter plot. So here, this is a scatter plot. Okay. Now, do you think there is an increasing trend? Yes or no? Yes, please.
Yes.
So there is an increasing trend. Points are increasing, right? If points are increasing, then you can apply curl Pearson's type of correlation. But do you think it is a situation of a strong correlation or moderate type of correlation? What do you think?
Moderate correlation.
Yeah, moderate correlation, particularly because for this point error is going to be high, for this point this error is going to be high. But one thing you can check, if I remove this point and this point and this point, then they are very, very close. These 2 points seems to be outlier, but I'm not deleting them. Right? Let's apply curl Pearson and see what is the result. So this is just looking at the scatter plot. You have a judgment that you can apply curl Pearson correlation coefficient because points are in the increasing order. Okay. So this is just looking at the scatter plot. How to compute correlation? Go to analysis, go to correlate, bivariate, because there are only 2 variables. So take this here and take this on this side, and this is curl Pearson's correlation coefficient. And if you want Spearman's rank correlation, you just click onto this, you will get Spearman's. Suppose one variable is having 5-point scale, another is having, then in that case, switch off this option, switch on to Spearman. You will get the answer, right? So here we are computing curl Pearson's correlation coefficient because gestational age is a measurement, birth weight is also a measurement. Okay, let's look at the correlation. So SPSS will give you an output, which will be in the form of a matrix. And I will tell you how to read this matrix. So press OK, and this is the correlation matrix. What is this correlation matrix? Gestational age, again gestational age. Birth weight, again birth weight. So first of all, gestational age will be 100% correlated with gestational age. Same variable will be 100% correlated with the same variable. So that is 1. But that is not our interest. Our interest is to look for correlation between gestational age and birth weight. So that means I should look here. So this is the amount of correlation, 0.818. And below that, there is a significance two-tailed. It is called p-value in SPSS. Wherever in SPSS it is written significance, that means it is a p-value. And for the time being, please remember, if this p-value, you can note down, please. I will not repeat again and again. If this p-value is less than 0.05, if this p-value is less than 0.05, then the result is significant. Let me just repeat. If this p-value is less than 0.05, then the result is significant. And 0.000 is less than 0.05. So the correlation is significant. And that's why there is a double star. Double star or star means it is significant, right? Then it is a symmetric matrix. Symmetric matrix, whatever is here, that will appear here. Whatever is here, that will appear here. So you will have to see only this part. Correlation between gestational age and birth weight. And this, what is this? This is nothing but correlation between birth weight and gestational age. So curl Pearson correlation coefficient is also called product movement correlation coefficient. Why? Because it is based on moments. And if you multiply 3 with 4, you will get 12. If I multiply 4 with 3 again, you will get 12. That's why there is symmetry. That's why there is symmetry. Right? So similarly, birth weight will be 100% correlated with birth weight. So here you have 1. So this is how to read this table. So there, what I'll have to report that correlation between gestational age and birth weight is 0.818, which is significant. with a p-value of 0.000, I have to put 1. Let me just repeat. I have to put 1. P-value is never 0. But SPSS will give you only up to 3 decimals. But if you click here, let me show you. If I click here and come to what is called cell properties, and in cell properties, I'll go to format values, numbers, and increase the decimal to, let's say, 13. And press OK. Now you can see some values. So P value is never 0. Can you see that? Hello?
Yes, sir.
So remember, P value is never 0. So if it is written 0.000, then always write 0.0001. Always. Right? That means it is significant. So there is a significant correlation between gestational age and birth weight. So that's a simple correlation. Let's go for simple regression also. Now our aim is to predict birth weight for a given gestational age. Let's say question may be like this. This is a gestational age. This is a birth weight. And you can see gestational age at the age of 34.7, 36, right? And so on. Let's say somebody asks you this question. Suppose if your gestational age of the mother is, suppose 35, this is 35.7. Let's say if the gestational age of the mother is, let's say 33. Now 33 is not here. 33 is not here, right? If gestational age would have been 33, what should have been the birth weight of the baby? So that means it's a prediction problem. So I have to run regression now. Regression of birth weight on gestation. So that I can give any value to gestation, I can estimate birth weight, right? So I need equation. So that is called simple regression. So let's apply simple regression. So here go to analyze, go to regression, go to linear, and in linear dependent variable is birth weight, independent variable is gestational because birth weight depends upon gestation, and press OK. And you will get an equation. That is the equation which I have shown you in PPT. Y is equal to B0 plus B1x, and B0 and B1 gets estimated from this data. And let's see their estimates. So it is coming up here. So this is your estimate of B0 minus 4020 point this. This is estimate of B1. So how to form an equation? Basically, this is how to form an equation. Sorry. Okay. So birth weight, let me form the equation. Birth weight is equal to, so this is estimate of B0, beta naught. And I can write minus 4020.054 plus an estimate of beta 1 is B1, that is given here 180.455, multiply with gestational age. Gestational age is, let me write gestational age. Okay. Now this is the equation. This is what the equation is. Now if somebody is asking question, if gestational age would have been 33, what could have been the birth weight? Now you put 33 here. So 33 multiplied by 180.455 minus this quantity, you will get the birth weight. Hopefully this thing is clear to you. Is that okay? Simple regression. Hello. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Then three important points in simple regression. What you have to report in your final presentation or in your final paper. You can note down, please. Number 1, value of R for simple regression, not R square for simple regression. R square, this is for multiple regression. You have to report the value of R in case of 2 variables. So your R value have to report it to be 0.818. It has to be significant. And we have already seen that it is significant. This is the p-value, 0.0001. You can report like that. So somebody will understand that there is a significant relationship between gestational age and birth weight. Then this ANOVA table value must be significant. This ANOVA table value must be significant. Basically, what was our equation? Our equation was y is equal to beta naught plus beta 1 x. Right? Now, this ANOVA table is basically testing your beta 1 is equal to 0. Now, that hypothesis it is testing beta 1 is equal to 0. Now, suppose it is coming out to be non-significant. This is significant because p value is less than 0.05. Suppose this would have been 0.231. Then it is more than 0.05. ANOVA table says that its value is significant. Sorry, non-significant. Non-significant means you will accept H0 and H0 is beta 1 is equal to 0. That means beta 1 will be 0. Then your equation will come out to be y is equal to simply constant a or beta naught. Because beta 1 is 0, so beta 1 multiply with x will go to 0. You follow my point? So that means this has to be always significant. So ANOVA table value must be significant. If somehow this is coming out to be non-significant, you cannot apply this model. You cannot apply this model because y doesn't depend upon x then. Right? Because beta 1 will be 0. You follow my point? Yes or no? Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
Then from here, and if this is coming out to be non-significant, there is no need to form any equation because model is not applicable. This model is applicable only when value of R is significant, value of ANOVA table is significant, and moreover this coefficient, which is gestational age, this has to be significant. Then and only then this model is applicable. Right? So you have to report that value of R was this, p value was 0.0001, ANOVA table was significant with p value 0.0001, and this was our equation. This was our equation. So three things you have to report. Then you are through with the simple linear regression. So this is what is called simple linear regression. And if I want to fit that line, then we already have drawn a scatter plot. And what is this line actually? You give any value to gestation, you can estimate one birth weight. Give second value, you will get 2 points. And take these 2 points here and plot a line. Line will look like this. How to plot a line? Double click. You will come to chart editor. So this is chart editor. Mark your cursor at any point. All you can see a border line. Then place your cursor at any point. And if you place your cursor at any point, then there is the option fit line at total. That is the line of best fit. So this is the line of best fit. This is that line of best fit. Right? No other line can beat this. And in your question, it has been asked that you have to compute 95% confidence band also. So you can click on to confidence intervals mean and apply. So you will get confidence intervals also. So this is what you have to do when it is one of the exercise with you. Right? Okay. Now, what is the meaning of this band? What is the meaning of this band? Let me explain it to you. Now, you have taken a sample of observations. And if you look at what is a sample of observations, you have taken 17 women and their birth weights when the babies were born. This is what you have. But somebody can take a sample of 30 people. Somebody can take a sample of 50 patients. Right? And you will get different equations. You will get different equations, different lines. But what is this band stands for? This band stands for that even if you take 100 such samples, even if you take 100 such samples from this kind of population, 95% of the times, this regression line will move within this band. Only 5% chances are there that they will be out of this band. Only 5% chances are there. This is what do you mean by confidence interval. Right? So this is called confidence band. That means you are 99%, 95% sure that your band or estimated regression line will move within this band. 95% of the times out of 100. Yes, please. Is this clear? Hello. Hello. Is this clear?
Sir, does it mean that the error is within that confidence band? It's a reduced error and it is within the confidence band.
No, you have to understand the meaning of confidence interval first. Let's say we have to start class at 3 o'clock today. Okay. That's the 3 o'clock. Now, when I opened my system, I was 1 minute late because of some connectivity issue. And that time, I think 26 or 27 already joined. Right? At 3 o'clock. Now, they may have joined 5 minutes or 10 minutes before. Let's say they have joined at 2:50. And some of them, I started my lecture. Some of them were coming up to 3:15 and 3:20 also. Yes or no? They have joined late.
Yes, sir.
Right? Now, you have almost 50 participants are there. Almost 50%. 50 participants are here. Suppose at 3 o'clock, I started taking attendance. Then attendance would have been of 22 or 23 people. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
But if I give a little bit of flexibility, let's say 250 right up to 320, what I can expect? And I have seen that almost 47, 48, or maybe 49 people were there within that time. That means you can expect that if I give a little bit of flexibility, then you can expect 95% of the people to be within that range of 250 to 320. That means 250 is the lowest point and 320 is the highest point. So that is my confidence interval. So my confidence interval, with this confidence, I can say that almost 95% of the students will be present. But if I exactly take the attendance at 3 o'clock, there may be only 40% or 30% are present. This is what do you mean by confidence interval, right? So your confidence, now smaller the confidence interval, better is the result. Let's say all have joined exactly, they have joined at 2:55 and everybody has come by 3:05, just 10 minutes. Then you are not losing anything. The smaller the confidence, better you are going to learn. Better is the result. But suppose somebody is coming at 5 o'clock. He has missed the entire lecture. So your confidence interval varies from 2:50 to 5 o'clock. And those who have joined around 5 o'clock, they are going to listen to me only for 10 minutes or 5 minutes. There is no use. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
This is what do you mean by confidence interval, right? So smaller the confidence interval, better is the result. So
Thank
try
you
to
so
remember
much,
this.
sir.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Now we'll move on to your multiple regression. We'll move on to multiple regression. I'm closing this file. Let me see how many are still there. How many participants are still there? Hey, very good. 49 are still there. Very good. All right. Now we are moving on to the most important part, which is called multiple regression. So let me open again from here. Otherwise, I may face difficulty again. And in last 10 minutes, I will try to cover that chi-square. Chi-square will also be covered later on. So I'll just give you idea about chi-square. Okay. File, open, data, desktop, and over here it was SPSS, data for SPSS. Then there is a file which is called multiple regression. Okay, multiple. Press open and here is file. Can you see this file? Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So problem is like this. Try to understand the problem, please. Some psychologists want to estimate IQ. So this is your dependent variable Y based on certain independent variables which are called predictors. One of the variable is mental age. Another is anxiety, depression score, stress, communication score, convolution score. So all these scores are measured, right? Now, this is my dependent variable. I want to estimate IQ. Why? This is your X1, this is X2, X3, X4, X5, X6, right? So there are 6 predictor variables or independent variables and 1 dependent variable. So it's a problem of simple regression or multiple regression? Yes,
Multiple
please.
regression.
Multiple regression. Very good. So it's a problem of multiple regression with IQ as dependent variable and these are independent variables. So let's try to estimate IQ based on this. Now there are 2-3 important questions. Number 1. Do you think all the 6 predictors are important to predict IQ? Or maybe few of them are important to predict IQ? It may happen that all of them may be important, or maybe two are important, maybe 3 are important. Yes or no?
Both cases possible.
Both cases possible, right? But let's say out of this, suppose I say only 4 are coming out to be significant. If 4 are coming out to be significant, then I can drop the other 2 because they are not important to predict IQ. And answer to this is given by what is called stepwise regression. If I perform the stepwise regression, then only those variables are retained in the model which are making a significant contribution to predict your IQ. And those who are not making significant contribution, they will automatically be dropped out of the model. And this is done by another technique which is called stepwise multiple regression. Yes, please. Is this clear what I'm saying?
Once again.
Yeah, let me just repeat. See, we have considered 6 predictors. Somebody can also have age here. Somebody can also have blood pressure here. Somebody can also have BMI here. You can have number of independent variables. But do you think all of them will be important to predict IQ? Do you think? Or there may be some of them, or maybe all of them. Both the cases can happen. All of them may be, or maybe out of these 7, 8, only 1 or 2 or 3 are important, 4 are important, 5 are important. So if I want to see which ones are important to predict IQ, I have to apply stepwise regression. You follow my point?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, let me go for the correlation matrix. What I can say about the correlation of IQ, because I have to basically look at the correlation of IQ with mental age, IQ with anxiety, because I want to predict IQ, IQ with depression, IQ with stress, IQ with communication, IQ with convolution. So first of all, get the correlation matrix. So go to analysis, go to correlate, go to bivariate, press Control A, all of them will be taken care of. All are measurements. So let me apply Karl Pearson. Apply Karl Pearson. And now you just see the first line. IQ with IQ 100% correlation, that is going to happen because same variable will be 100% correlated with the same variable. That is not our interest. Look at the next one. What is the correlation? This is correlation. I'm not talking about regression. I'm just simply saying correlation. Correlation of IQ with mental age, 0.659 star is there. So that means it is significant. P value is less than 0.05. Good. So IQ is related to mental age. First thing. Look at the next correlation. IQ with anxiety, 0.950. Again, P value is significant. Star is there. So that means IQ is also related to anxiety. Good. IQ, let's look at depression score. Again, there is star. P value is significant. So these 3 are important to predict IQ. I mean, I'm not saying predict important, but they are correlated with IQ. Yes or no? Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
Now, come to the next one. This correlation of IQ with stress is how much? 0.293. And what is its P value? Is it less than 0.05 or more than?
More than.
More than. So it is non-significant? Yes?
Yes, sir.
It is non-significant, right? So that means IQ is not related to stress. Okay. Now let's look at communication score. Again, this is a star. So P value is coming out to be significant. Again, IQ is having a correlation with communication score. What about the next one? Convolution score. Significant or non-significant?
Non-significant.
नॉन
Non-significant.
मैडम कुछ और कह रहे हैं। मैडम ये नॉन सिग्निफिकेंट है क्योंकि इस पे स्टार नहीं है, वही सिग्निफिकेंट है जिस पे स्टार लगा है। हेलो
Yes, sir.
मैडम, आप समझ आ गया? ओके, सो आउट ऑफ द 6 हाउ मेनी आर सिग्निफिकेंट? कैन यू टेल मी आउट ऑफ द 6 हाउ मेनी आर सिग्निफिकेंट?
4.
4.
Okay. Out of the 6, 4 are significant. Now, somebody can answer that IQ can be predicted based on these 4 only because they are related with IQ: mental age, anxiety, depression score, and communication score. If you are answering that way, your answer is absolutely wrong. Why? Because right in the beginning, I explained you that correlation is never used for prediction. It's only the regression which is used for prediction. So here we have computed correlation or regression? Yes, please.
Correlation.
So if you are giving your idea based on correlation, then you are absolutely wrong, right? So please try to remember my words. These are not written in any book. Correlation is never used for prediction. I will show you, practically prove it to you. It's only the regression which is used for prediction. Now let's apply regression and see how you can predict IQ based on all these 6 predictors, or which ones are important, which we have to retain in the model. Let's see. So this is the result of correlation only. Go for analysis, and then regression, and then linear. Dependent variable is IQ, and all these are independent variables. And let me simply apply OK and see the result. If you do it and see the last result, what is happening here? Your dependent variable is IQ, and as I mentioned, the ANOVA table value has to be significant, so it is. Then these coefficients must be significant. Let's see which coefficients are significant. Mental age. Look at the first variable, mental age. So its p-value is significant. Don't look for the constant, please. Whether constant is significant, non-significant, doesn't make any difference. It's only the variable which makes the significance. So mental age is the first variable, so it is significant. What is the meaning of this? That yes, mental age can be used to predict IQ. This is what it means, because it is making a significant contribution to predict IQ. Let's look at anxiety. Anxiety, this p-value is again less than 0.05. So anxiety is also important to predict IQ. Let's look at depression score. Yes, please. What about the p-value of depression score? 0.033. Is it less than 0.05 or more than 0.05?
Yes, sir, less than.
Less than. So that if it is less than, it is still important to predict IQ. That means depression score is also important to predict IQ. What about the stress? What about stress? Yes, please. What is its p-value? More than 0.05 or less than? More than. So do you think that stress is important?
No.
No, sir.
No. What about communication score?
No, sir.
No. What about convolution score?
No.
But in correlation, it was showing. In correlation, communication score was coming out to be significant. But here it is not. Yes? Very important point. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
that means IQ can be predicted based on how many variables? Can you answer this question?
4.
4?
3, sorry.
Constant. You will not have to include constant, please. 3.
Mental anxiety.
Mental age, anxiety, and depression.
And depression. But if you give your results based on correlation, you would have given answer 4. So that's why correlation is never used for prediction. It's a regression which is used for prediction, right? Now, very important point. In multiple regression, people make mistake. If they are non-significant, there is no contribution to predict IQ, then they should be thrown out of the model. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Why we are retaining them into the model unnecessarily? Is that okay? Because there is no contribution. Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
आपने एक इंडस्ट्री खोली है, उस इंडस्ट्री में 5 आपके पास 10 वर्कर हैं, जिसमें से 2 वर्कर ऐसे हैं जो कोई काम नहीं कर रहे हैं, आप उसको रखेंगे या बाहर निकालेंगे? हाँ जी, क्या करेंगे? उसकी कंट्रीब्यूशन नहीं है कुछ भी, तो क्या करेंगे इसको?
सर निकाल देंगे।
निकाल देंगे, वेरी गुड। तो इनको निकाल देना चाहिए जिनकी कंट्रीब्यूशन नहीं है, यस और नो?
यस सर।
Yes. So they should be thrown out of the model. So one way is that when you run regression for the next time, you should not include stress, you should not include communication score, you should not include convolution score also. That is one solution. But that is not a right thing to do. Because in SPSS, there is an inbuilt procedure. That is called stepwise procedure. And if I apply stepwise procedure, they will automatically be thrown out of the model. Automatically be thrown out of the model. Let's see, where is this?
Sir, why they should be thrown out of the model, sir?
Because they are non-significant. मैंने
Because
आपको
that is-
एग्जांपल दिया कि आपके पास एक इंडस्ट्री है,
That is
10
also a
वर्कर हैं.
result. But that is also a result.
नहीं, आप समझ नहीं रहे हैं बात को. हमारा जो रिजल्ट है, रिजल्ट तो ये है कि ये नॉन सिग्निफिकेंट हैं. आप इसको रिपोर्ट करेंगे, दे वर नॉन सिग्निफिकेंट, तो देयर वाज, इनकी कंट्रीब्यूशन नहीं है प्रेडिक्शन के लिए. आप इनको रिपोर्ट करेंगे. यू आर नॉट थ्रोइंग देम आउट, यू विल रिपोर्ट देम इन योर फाइनल राइटिंग दैट दीज वेरिएबल्स वर कमिंग आउट टू बी नॉन सिग्निफिकेंट, सो दे कैन नॉट बी कंसीडर्ड टू प्रेडिक्ट IQ, क्योंकि उनकी कंट्रीब्यूशन ही नहीं है प्रेडिक्शन के लिए.
For prediction purposes, okay.
This is what I am saying. This is prediction model. This is prediction model only I am talking about. You follow my point?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah, okay. Right. Now, let me apply a stepwise procedure. They will be automatically thrown out of the model. Let me repeat the procedure again. Go to analysis, go to regression, go to linear, and change this method here. Because enter method takes care of all the variables which are entered, which are independent variables, whether they are making significant contribution, whether they are making non-significant contribution, they will be retained in the model, which we don't require. Because unnecessarily, अब IQ predict करने के लिए मेरे को stress की जरूरत नहीं है. Why I should study? Because it doesn't depend upon. Why I should study convolution? It doesn't depend upon. तो मैं next time मेरी effort कम हो जाएगी. Now, if you are dealing with 50 variables, only 10 variables are significant, then I'll go for the 10 variables rather than I'll leave all the 40 variables. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Why to unnecessarily put an effort? So change the method from here. This is a stepwise. This is remove method. This is a backward method. There are many methods here. Forward method. Now, let me tell you, different statisticians have derived different methods. Right? For example, there are measures of center tendency, mean, median, mode, etc. There are measures of dispersion, range, standard deviation, variance, all these. Same way, there are methods. But out of these methods, whether you apply stepwise procedure or you apply forward procedure, both of them are very good, equally efficient, right? Their efficacy is better than the other methods. So let me apply forward method. Let me apply. You can apply stepwise also. You can check your result. Okay. Now, go to statistics then. Go to statistics. In statistics, you must click on to R square, must click on to descriptive. That's it. And also you can click on to confidence intervals. And in options, you will not have to do anything. That's it. So, and in plots also, you can click on to the dependent variable here and the predicted plot here. That will give you how good is your model. Dependent versus predicted. I mean, one value is the actual value Y, which is IQ, and another value, predicted value, you will get from the model. And we will see if they are very close, then your model may be good. Continue. Press OK. So you have done everything. So let's see the result of regression. First is just a mean SD table, right? This is just mean SD. You can read that. Again, there is a correlation table which is appearing. Same table which we have earlier, right? We have already seen this table. Then, now if you see, when we apply the enter method, our first variable which was entered was in order. First was mental age, next was anxiety, next was depression. Whatever the order we have maintained, they are coming in the same order. Yes or no? Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
But when I apply stepwise procedure, that variable will come at number 1 which is making a maximum contribution to predict IQ. And then the next maximum will come. Then the next maximum will come. And those who are not making any contribution, they will be thrown out of the model automatically. That is the application of this stepwise regression. So let's see. Here it was mental age, after that anxiety, then depression. These were non-significant. Let's see which one comes first now when we apply stepwise procedure. It was mental age, remember, mental age, anxiety, and depression. But when we have applied stepwise regression, now which one is coming at number 1? Anxiety or mental age? Hello? Which one is coming at number 1?
Anxiety.
Anxiety.
Now it says that anxiety is the most important variable to predict IQ. That is the result. Next one is which one? Mental age. Next one is depression. And where are the rest of the 3? These are only the variables which were entered now. And rest of the 3 has already thrown out of the model. They have already been thrown out of the model. Is that clear? Meaning of stepwise? Hello?
Yes.
Sir, did the stepwise method or the forward method?
I applied forward. You can apply stepwise. You will get the same result. You will get exactly the same.
Okay. Thank you.
Sir, what is the difference between stepwise and forward method?
Both of them are equally good. In p-value, there may be difference at the 4th, 5th, 5th decimal places. Nothing else. Both of them are equally efficient.
Okay.
Not much difference. There is a difference in little bit in formula, but your p-value will come out to be exactly almost similar. Okay?
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Now, this is the model summary, and this model summary, how to read this is very, very important. Please try to understand. There are 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 means it has basically formed 3 models, but our model is only the last one, in which we are interested. Why? Because it says A, B, C. Now, what do you mean by A? A means when only anxiety was included in the model. This is what do you mean by this. But we have 3 important steps. First anxiety, then mental age, depression. So first model when anxiety was included. Second model when anxiety plus mental age is there. Third model when anxiety, mental age, and depression is there. So my interest is to look for the third model only. Yes? Is that okay?
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So don't go for the first R square. When only anxiety was included, value of R square was 0.90 and adjusted R square is 0.89. Now you will not have to report R because it's a problem of multiple regression. You have to report R square. When anxiety and mental age, then your R square moves up to 0.99 and adjusted R square again 0.99. But when you include anxiety, mental age, and depression, that is the important point. So this is what you have to report. That value of R square for our model was at the last step, 0.995 and adjusted R square was 0.994. If there would have been the 4th variable, then it will go up to model 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you have to report the 4th one only. You follow my point? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So if it is going up to 5, you have to report the last one because that is including the rest of them also. So you have to report that value of R square in multiple regression was 0.995, adjusted R square was 0.994, and the ANOVA table, this is when you include anxiety. This is when you include anxiety and what was the second? Mental age. And the last one when you include anxiety, mental age, and depression. So I have to report only the third one. That at the third step, the regression was coming out to be significant. Although it is significant in both the cases, but important table is the third one. Right? Because you can see this include all the 3. Anxiety, mental age, depression. Okay. Then how to form an equation? This is the equation when only anxiety is there, model number 1. When anxiety and mental age, this is the model along with constant. And I'll not have to see 1, I'll not have to see, I have to see the third one. And how to form an equation? Just double click here. And now here you can write down IQ is equal to, can anybody suggest from this how I can write the values? Yes, please. Can anyone? Constant. What is the value of constant? Yes, please.
minus 13.667.
Very good. Plus
0.906
multiply with
anxiety.
anxiety. Very good. Let me put just anxiety just to save time. Then plus, yes, please.
0.702
0.702 multiply with
mental underscore
mental
age.
age.
Mental age.
Plus, yes, please.
4.627
4.627 multiply with
depression
score.
score.
Right? So this is, sorry, score. So this is your final equation which you have to report. Just click here. Where is that equation? I think I just forget to save that. I think you can understand now, right? So you have an equation. Now 3 variables. What are the 3 variables which are not appearing in the picture? They are excluded. Why they are excluded? They are marked here. Stress, because p-value is more than 0.05. This is p-value. Communication score, p-value is more than 0.05. Communication score, p-value is more than 0.05. So they have been excluded out of the model. Right? So this is called multiple regression, and you have to report the equation which I have written, and also ANOVA table value and the value of R square and adjusted R square at the last step. Yes, please. Any question?
Sir, can you please repeat the equation step?
Equation I have already written, but I forget to save that. But anyhow, I can do it again. जी बताइए, आप बताइए क्या लिखें? Equal to, yes, madam. बोलिए. Because it is a constant. Constant is beta naught. It
Sir,
will come
minus
first.
13 होगा sir, minus 13.
Yeah, minus 13. You are right. So it will be minus 13. All right. Yes, please. बोलिए next. Plus
0.906
906 multiply with
anxiety.
plus
0.702
multiply होना चाहिए था, multiply with anxiety plus 0.702 multiply with
mental age.
let me put this as MA stands for mental age plus 4.627 multiply with depression score. Let me write DS. So this is your equation, right? So this is your equation now, and here you have the complete equation. Let me close this, and this equation is appearing here. Is that okay? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Now this is your final equation which you need to report. And finally, please note down few important steps in multiple regression. Very important steps in multiple regression. That is called model diagnostic. What is a model diagnostic steps? Number 1, what you need to report. Number 1, and what you need to observe also. Value of R square must be high. First point. At the last step. So we have to see at 3 number. If it is going up to 5 or 6, you have to see the 6th one. Value of R square must be high, and it has to be significant. We have already seen that it is significant. This is significant, less than 0.05. So value of R square must be high. Number 2, very important. There should not be much difference. There should not be much difference between R square and adjusted R square. There should not be much difference between R square and adjusted R square. Now look at R square, 0.995. Look at adjusted R square, 0.994. So hardly any difference between R square and adjusted R square. Number 3, I'll explain you the meaning of adjusted R square. What is the meaning? Number 3, ANOVA table value at the last step. That must be significant. This ANOVA table value must be significant, right? And the last step, 4th one, all these coefficients which you are forming out of the equation, they should be significant. For example, anxiety, significant. Mental age, significant. depression score significant. They should be significant. And this is the final equation which you have to write down at the last step. Right? So you are going to report the value of R square, adjusted R square, value of ANOVA table at the last step, and this equation. That's it. That's it. Nothing else. You will not have to explain excluded all these variables. You can write down that these variables were coming out to be non-significant in the model. So we apply stepwise regression and the final model is this. Okay. Now, what is the difference between R square and adjusted R square? In second point, I mentioned that there should not be much difference between R square and adjusted R square. Let's say your R square is coming out to be 0.995. R square lie between 0 and 1. The closer to 1, better is the result. But suppose R square is 0.995. Adjusted R square is 0.694. 0.694. So there is a big difference between R square and adjusted R square. It should have only up to 0.1. If it is 0.9, it should be 0.8. That is allowable. But not difference of 0.3, 0.2, 0.4. Not allowable. What does this mean? So there should not be much difference between R square and adjusted R square. Now, our entire model is based on 6 predictors. Yes, you agree with me? Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, if somebody says that IQ can also depend upon age, I can include age also. I can include height also. I can include BMI also. I can include any number of parameters here. There is no restriction, right? Let me include three more. Suppose I include 3 more. Please remember, this is the difference between R square and adjusted R square. R square, whenever you include any independent variable, R square will go on increasing. R square will go on increasing. Suppose R square by including these 6 is 0.988. When you include the 6th, 7th, 8th, it may go up to 0.998. R square will go on increasing if you increase the number of independent variables. But adjusted R square will only increase. Let me just repeat. Adjusted R square will only increase if that additional variable is making a significant contribution to predict IQ. Otherwise, it will not increase. It will only increase if that additional variable, independent variable, is making a significant contribution to predict IQ. Then adjusted R square will increase. But R square will increase with every independent variable. But adjusted R square will only increase if additional independent variable is making a significant contribution to predict IQ. Otherwise, it will not increase. What does this mean? That means if there is a big difference between R square and adjusted R square, that means some irrelevant variables are there in your model. There are some irrelevant variables are there in your model. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. Let me just explain it from the layman language. मैं आपको एक layman language में समझा दूं कि how I can explain R square and adjusted R square. Let's say there is a very heavy box, right? And 4 people are carrying that box, 2 on the front and 2 on the back. So they are sharing something. That is your R square. Now let's say 5th of their friend has also joined and he says, let me also contribute a little bit. And he comes to the center. So sharing will increase? Yes or no? If somebody is coming in the center, sharing will increase or not? Yes, please.
Yes,
Hello?
sir.
So
Yes,
this is what do you mean by R square? So your R square, because another independent variable has come, so sharing has increased, R square will increase. Okay. Now the 6th of their friend has also come and he says, let me also make my contribution. Now there are 2 on the front, 2 in the middle and 2 on the back. He is also sharing something. So R square will further go on increasing because sharing has increased. Now the 7th one has also come. He has already seen that 6 people are there and he says, let me also make some contribution, and he just put a finger. Now finger may be sharing only 5% or maybe only 5 gram, 10 gram, 20 gram. But still sharing is there. If sharing is there, R square will go on increasing. R square will increase. But it is not a significant sharing. If he or she would have shared, let's say 20, 30 kg, then it would have been significant. But if it is only 5 gram or 10 gram in a heavy box, it doesn't make a significant contribution. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So in that case, adjusted R square will not increase. R square will go on increasing. But adjusted R square will only increase if it is additional variable is making a significant contribution to predict IQ. So if there is a big difference between R square and adjusted R square, that means some irrelevant variables are there in your model. This is what do you mean by R square and adjusted R square. Not written in any book clearly. Hopefully I have made you this clear. Why R square has to be reported? Why adjusted R square is also required. Sometimes people only report R square and don't report adjusted R square. And then people like me, those who know the value, then I ask, what was the adjusted R square? And then he report that R square was 0.9, adjusted R square was 0.6, and then the paper gets rejected. Because there is a big difference between R square and adjusted R square. It should not be if your model is correct. You follow my point? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So this is all about the simple regression, multiple regression. If you have any question, you can ask me. And in next 10 minutes, I am just going to explain you chi-square. That's it. Yes, please. Any question?
Sir, therefore, R square and reported adjusted R square is more important than
Both of them have to be reported. R square as well as adjusted R square. Both of them have to be reported.
But in case of adjusted R square is more important than R
Both of them, I am saying again, both of them are important because if there is a difference between R square and adjusted R square, your ANOVA table value definitely will come out to be non-significant. And some people don't even report ANOVA table. They simply write R square was this much and this is our predicted equation. That's it.
Okay.
They don't forget about ANOVA. And I know if there is a difference between R square and adjusted R square, ANOVA table value will be coming out to be non-significant. And if that is non-significant, you cannot apply this model at all.
Okay, sir.
So 4 important points. R square has to be high. There should not be much difference between R square and adjusted R square. ANOVA table value has to be significant. All these coefficients has to be significant. If they are, all these 4 points are okay. If all these 4 points are okay, then your model is okay. Perfect. Otherwise, if any one of them is lacking, any one of them, then you should not apply this model. You should not apply this model. And here is the predicted equation also, you can see. This is the actual model, actual observations, and the predicted observations out of the model. And if you go for the line drawing, let me double click and place the line, fit line at total. There is hardly any difference between actual value and predicted values. These are actual values, which you can see on the line ... and these are predicted by the model. Very close.
सर कैसे प्रेडिक्टेड वैल्यू दिखाया ग्राफ में और एक बार दिखाएंगे?
ये प्रेडिक्टेड वैल्यू ही है, ये देखिए.
ये कहां से आए वो माने?
अच्छा, कहां से आया? ओके, जस्ट गिव मी अ मोमेंट. Okay, delete this line. This is deleted. Okay. Now
from this graph once.
You just click at any dot, then you can see a yellow dot around all these dots. Yes or no? Can you see yellow background?
Sir, but how do we get this graph first, sir?
That was simple actually. You see, in the output we have an equation. You see, in the output we have an equation here. Let me come to this. This was our equation, right?
Yes.
Now you have a depression score, you have mental age, you have anxiety, right? And in this, you have a depression score, you have anxiety. Suppose in that equation, I put 1.75, I put 85.4 for anxiety. For mental age, I'll get a predicted value of IQ.
Yes.
So one is the actual value, another is predicted value. So actual value is there already on the line. This is already on the line, which I'll plot, I'll show you. And other is the predicted value. So predicted values are very, very close to the actual values. If you draw a line. So this is what it is happening. So these are all on the line are actual values and closer values are predicted values. So they are very close. So that means model is good. Hello.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So if there is any other question, please. Any other question?
Sir, since this is we are using it for predictive value also, can we apply it when we're doing a hypothesis?
We have, this is based on hypothesis only, because in hypothesis, a ANOVA table value is basically testing the hypothesis. So it is testing whether the anxiety, depression, or mental age is making a significant contribution or not. So it is based on hypothesis only. Otherwise, others are coming out to be non-significant. They are based, they're the result of hypothesis. Since I am not teaching the topic of hypothesis here, so I just ignore that part, right? But it is based on hypothesis.
Right. So अगर हमें hypothesis prove करना है, so this is one of the methods that we will be using.
No, this is just a predictive modeling. This is not, you are not testing the hypothesis here. Hypothesis testing is based on parametric test and non-parametric test, where comparisons are involved, comparing 2 groups, comparing 3 groups. Then you involve hypothesis there. Here, hypothesis is slightly different. It is hypothesis testing about regression parameters, about testing of beta 1, testing of beta 2, testing of beta 3. Right? So in our case, in our model, beta 1 is coming out to be significant because that was the coefficient of anxiety. Beta 2 was also significant. That was coefficient of depression. Then third was mental age. But others 3 were non-significant. They were not contributing. So beta 4, beta 5, beta 6, they were non-significant.
Right.
Yeah.
So one more clarity. Since the importance of the 2 R's, like R square and adjusted R square, and the reporting becomes important to convey both the 2 factors. I was interested to know what makes adjusted R square the constant factor against which you are saying that the reporting becomes important, significant to understand the deviation from the adjusted R square of R square. So how does
Because
adjusted R
this
square
is because of the mathematical formula. Because whenever we drive the mathematical formula, and if there is a variable which is making insignificant contribution, it will contribute to R square, but it will never contribute to adjusted R square. Formula is designed in such a way. So if there is coming out to big difference, that means definitely there are some irrelevant variables in the model. It is based on the formula, mathematical formula.
Right.
And let me tell you, adjusted R square, although it is R square, can be negative also. It could be negative also. Very important point. Adjusted R square could be negative also. And if adjusted R square is coming out to be negative, do not apply model at all. That means your model is absolutely absurd, absolutely wrong. This data doesn't fit well to this model. Okay?
Right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other question? Any other question? So if there is no other question, let me move on to my last topic on chi-square, and then I'll stop. So here we were. Let me go step. Okay. This is chi-square. Basically, chi-square is a non-parametric test. Chi-square is a non-parametric test, and it is used for testing 2 important purposes. Number 1, goodness of fit test, chi-square test for goodness of fit. And second one is chi-square test is used for see the association between 2 attributes or more than 2 attributes. 2 attributes basically. Let me give you example of each. What do you mean by goodness of fit? Now, if you are from biological sciences, right, then there are Mendel's law. And Mendel's law says that offsprings in the next generation is in the ratio of 9:3:3:1. 9:3:3:1. What does this mean? That means 9:3:3:1. So 9 plus 3, 12 plus 3, 15 plus 1, 16. Let's say I'm taking a sample of 1600. So Mendel's law says if you take a sample of 1600, then 900 will be of one type, 300 will be of second type, 300 will be of third type, and 100 will be of fourth type. This is what the Mendel's law says. Yes, please. Is this concept clear what I'm saying? Hello.
Yes, sir.
This is what the theory says according to Mendel. This is what the theory says. Now you want to prove based on some data. You also take a sample of 1600. Now, if Mendel's law have been true, then first should have 900, second should have 300, third should 300, fourth should have 100. But when you have actually taken the sample of 1600, then in your data, let's say first one is, it has to be 900, but now you are getting the value as 882. Okay. In the second one, it has to be 300, but you are getting the value as 308. In the third one, it has to be 300, but you are getting the value as 310. And the last one, 100, and you are also getting 100. You follow my point? So there is one which is based on theory. Theory says 900, 300, 300, 100. But when you have the actual result, your actual results are coming out to be, that is observed. Your observed results are coming out to be 882, 308, 310, and 100. And if you add, whether you add the first one, whether you add the second one, both of them are 1600. Yes, please. Is this clear? Hello?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
what this goodness of fit test is, I want to prove whether whatever the Mendel has said that the offsprings in the next generation are going to be in this ratio, whether the same thing works for my sample or not. So if there is a close resemblance, between the theoretical results and between the observed results, then I'll say that yes, it's a goodness of fit, that your data fits well to this. Otherwise, it doesn't fit well. Hopefully this makes sense to you. Hello. Is this clear what I'm saying?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
this once. Can you just repeat this?
Okay, I'll be having example. So I'll show you. So this is basically the observed value. This is basically the expected, the result of the theory, what you expect. What do you expect in Mendel's law? That one should be 900. But what you are getting, 882. That is the first difference. Second, for second one, because it is over I, you have to add all values over I, and I is going from 1 to 4, right? So it is observed minus expected square divided by expected. Observed minus expected square, observed by expected, and add all the 4. And you will get the value of chi-square. And corresponding to this chi-square, there will be p-value. And if p-value is coming out to be non-significant, then you will say that there is no difference between what the theory says and what you observe. But if it is coming out to be significant, then there is a discrepancy between theory and experiment. So to check the discrepancy between theory and experiment, we apply what is called chi-square test of goodness of fit, right? So I'll give you example and then it will be more clear. Expected frequencies could be based on theory, previous experience, or comparison groups. Let's take example. Chi-square test of goodness of fit. Now, the average prognosis of total hip replacement in relation to the pain reduction in hip joint. When there is a hip replacement, then whether the joints, there is a pain in the joints. So it says whenever there is a hip replacement, 80% of the people, they are having excellent result. 10% they are saying they are having good, they are okay. 5% medium and 5% bad. 5% very bad. So this is what, based on the long, let's say based on 30,000 patients, this is the result which is being expected. They have already known, they already know it, that excellent will come out to be in 80% of the cases, good in 10%, medium in 5%, bad in 5%. This is what the expected is. But let's say you have operated, a doctor has operated 100 patients. He has a sample of 100, and out of that 95% are coming out to be excellent, 2 are good, 2 are medium, and 1 is this. Total will be 100. Here also total is 100. This is what the observed is. You follow my point? Is this example clear? Hello?
Yes,
Is
sir.
this
Yes, sir.
right? So this is what the expected is in a larger population, and in a smaller population, this you have observed. Now I want to check whether my results are compatible to the larger population or not. So I have to see, is there any discrepancy between the expected and this is theory, this is observed. Is there any discrepancy between theory and observed results or not? So I will apply chi-square. So how the chi-square is being applied? So this is expected. Wherever it is written E, it is expected. So there are 4 values. This is expected number 1, expected number 2, expected number 3, expected number 4. I have written from here 80, 10, 5, 5 expected. Then observed, I have written 95, 2, 2, 1. These are observed. Yes, please. Is this okay? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Now you see, if I make a 2 by 2 table of this, 2 by 2 table means I'll write expected here, I'll write observed here. Then there will be having 4 rows, excellent, good, medium, bad. Then you will be having 4 rows and 2 columns. 1 column for expected, another for observed. You will get 2 by 2 table. Yes or no? Sorry, not 4 by 2 table. 4 rows and 2 columns. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So how the degrees of freedom are computed? In chi-square, degrees of freedom are based on the number of columns minus 1 into number of rows minus 1. So number of columns is 2. So 2 minus 1. Number of rows is 4. So 4 minus 1. So 2 minus 1 is 1. 4 minus 1 is 3. So 3 into 1 is 3. So degree of freedom will be 3. And corresponding to this degree of freedom, I'll compute the value of chi-square. How the value of chi-square will be computed? For example, for first observation, 80 minus 95. I think it's written observed minus expected. Your observed is 95. 95 minus 80. 95 minus 80 is how much? 15. So 15 square. So first value will be 15 square divided by expected. Your expected is 80. So 15 square, 220. This summation stands for plus. Next value will be 2 minus 10 square divided by 2 plus 5, 2 minus 5 square divided by 5. Next value will be 1 minus 5 square divided by 5. So I will add all these 4 values and my result.
Sir, are you there? Hello, sir. Hello.
There might be any technical issue from sir.
Yes, yes. Sir, we'll be back in 1 minute.
Hello.
Yes, yes. Sir
Sir,
will back. Yes. Balloon.
can I ask one question, sir?
Yes.
Sir, can anyone please help me with the what will be the answer? That diagnosis of patients admitted to a mental health clinic. What will be the scale of measurement?
Group, please help. Anyone can help?
The SAT is there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, unmute. Huh. Yes,
Is
sir.
that okay now?
Fine, sir.
So sorry for the interruption. There was some connection issue. Today it is troubling a lot. Anyhow, so that was what do you mean by goodness of it? Yes, please. Is this clear? Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
We could not listen to the last part of your lecture because there was some
Okay.
technical issue. Can you
Okay,
please repeat?
Yeah. You see, I think up to this it was clear. So we have expected, we have observed. Oh, let me share the screen. I need to share the screen first of all. Let me share the screen again because I joined again. Just give me a moment. Now, is this visible now? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So if you remember this slide, I was discussing with you. Let me come to the, yeah. So this is what the expected is. This is what the observed is. And how this chi-square is being computed. Chi-square is computed observed minus expected square divided by expected for all the 4 values. These are 4 values. So first will be observed 95 minus 80. Square that quantity because this is what the formula is. 95 observed, expected is 80. So 95 minus 80. The result is 15. 15 square is 225. Divide by expected. Divide by expected is your 80. So 225 divided by 80. That is the first value. Similarly, you have the second value, observed minus expected, third value and fourth value. And then add all of them. This sum means add all of them. And if you add all of them, you will get value as value of chi-square as 14.2. Yes, please. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Now value of chi-square is 14.2. And the p-value for this will be computed by SPSS. That will give you 0.001. 0.001. Now 0.001 is less than 0.05. Yes or no?
Yes,
sir.
sir.
It is significant.
So that means there is a significant. So that means there is a significant difference between theory and experiment. There is a significant difference between theory and experiment. This is what your conclusion is. Right? Hello.
Hello, sir. From
Yes,
where
please.
did we get the values 10.83?
10.83? No. Forget about this thing.
Sorry. 10.83.
This was tabulated value. This was table from the chi-square table.
Okay.
Yeah, but we will not have to see. We have to see the p-value only because it will be given by SPSS, right? Okay. So this
Yes,
is
sir.
just to look at chi-square test of goodness of it. And second test of chi-square, which is much more important, is testing the independence. Is testing the independence of attributes. Let me give you a very simple example of attributes. Let me come up to this example. Okay. So here you can understand what do you mean by independence of attributes. Suppose I have a gender on this side, male and female, and I have a locality here, rural and urban. Can you see this slide? Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, if you look at what is the meaning of this? There are 15 people who are from rural, male, and 16 in urban. And there are 45 females in rural and 24 in urban. This is what it means. Total here will be 60, total here will be 40. On this side, the row totals, this is column totals. Column total is 60, 40, and this is 31, and this is 69. Total is 100. So out of the 100, this is the distribution. Hopefully you can understand this point. Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, what is the hypothesis here? Here hypothesis is, this is the hypothesis. Can we say that sex distribution is independent of locality? So I am putting H0, sex distribution is independent of locality. Alternative will be sex distribution is dependent on locality. Now what does this mean? This means if I accept H0, after applying chi-square we have to see, if I accept H0, then sex distribution is independent of locality. What does this mean? That means the distribution of male and female in rural and urban is almost equal. This is what do you mean by this? Sex distribution is independent. There is no difference, right? But suppose I reject this hypothesis. I reject this hypothesis, then alternative will be accepted. Alternative says it is dependent. That means there is a quite possibility that females are more in rural urban as compared to male. This may happen. But if H0 is accepted, then there is almost an equal distribution. This is what we are testing. That is called independence or association of attributes. Hopefully the question is clear to you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So how to test this? It is very simple. These are observed frequencies from the data of 100. How to compute the expected frequencies is very simple. For example, I want to compute expected of 15. Then look at this row total. Look at the column total, divide by the overall total. So expected for 15 will be 60 into 31 divided by 100. I'll get expected for this. How you get expected for this?
So
Again, yes, please.
So once more.
Yeah, let me just repeat. There are 4 cells here. They are observed values. And for you, I need to get 4 expected value also. So how I will get the expected value? Expected value for 15 will be, just look at the column total, look at the row total, multiply the 2. So here row total is 31, column total is 60. So multiply the 2 means 60 into 31 divided by 100. So I'll get expected for 15. Similarly, how you will get expected for 16? Look at the row total 31, look at the column total 40. So 40 into 31 divided by 100. You will get expected for this. And same way you can do it here. 60 into 69 divided by 100 and 40 into 69 divided by 100. So you will be having 4 observed and 4 expected. And if you do that, this is what you are getting. 18.6, 12.4, 14.4. And if you add, they will be 60, 40, 31 and this. Yes, please. These are expected frequencies. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Right? Now you are having expected frequencies. You are also having observed frequencies. Now, observed minus expected. So observed is your 15, expected is your 18.6. So 15 minus 18.6, square that quantity and divide by expected, divide by 18.6. That is the first figure. Plus, same way the second figure, you add 16 minus 12.5 square, divide by expected 12.4. Similarly, add other 2. And once you add all these 2, you will get this value, 2.52. When you add all the 4 values, you will get 2.52. Degree of freedom will be number of rows minus 1, number of columns minus 1. So number of rows is 2, number of column is 2. So degree of freedom will be 2 minus 1 into 2 minus 1. So it will be 1 degree of freedom. And P value is coming out to be this one, 0.134. And 0.134, is it less than 0.05 or more than 0.05?
More than.
More than. So that means null hypothesis will be accepted or rejected?
Accepted.
Accepted. So null hypothesis is accepted. What does this mean? That the sex distribution is independent of locality. That means sex distribution doesn't depend upon locality. There is an equal distribution of male and female, almost. And you can also see 15, 16, 44. It seems to be here high, but when you see the overall picture, there is hardly any difference, right? So this is what the picture is. Okay. So this is what do you mean by chi-square? So in one way, just 1 second and then it will be over. I'll apply chi-square to one of the data and show you how you will get the result. So let me open a file. Just give me 1 moment and you can apply chi-square, get the result. Actually, it is not opening from here. I have to go from the other side. Let me just open a spaces again. Cancel. And file, open data, then desktop, this, and there is a file which is called logistic. This one. Let me just open. Okay. Now, this is what I wanted to check. Experiment. This is a real life data, and one of doctor was working with me, and this paper has been published in the Journal of American Ophthalmology. So it is related to eye. There is a problem which is called problem of glaucoma, जिसको काला मोतिया बोलते हैं हिंदी में. Problem of glaucoma. People are facing with the age factor, and when there is a glaucoma, they have to be operated upon, right? And sometimes there will be a second operation also, and then the surgery is performed. There are two types of surgeries which are performed, and glaucoma depends upon the history, whether the parents were having or the grandparents were having. Just like cancer also depends upon the history, and heart problem also depends upon the history. So same way, glaucoma also depends upon the history. So history of glaucoma, yes. History of glaucoma, no. So this is what one means yes, no means zero. Now, I want to see whether this is male and female, whether the gender is associated with the post-PK glaucoma. That means those who are male, whether male are associated with the post-PK glaucoma or not. So I want to correlate between them. Correlation means association. I want to see of gender with post-glaucoma. So to apply chi-square, very simple. You go to analysis, you go to descriptive, and in descriptive there is a cross tab. Cross tab. Let's say rows I fix gender, sex, column I fix post-PK glaucoma, right? And then go to statistics, and then there is a chi-square. So this is chi-square. And then continue and simply press OK. You will get the result. You will get a p-value. Now you can see the result. This is male with post-PK glaucoma, 110. Those who are not having glaucoma is 110. Those who are having glaucoma is 40. Right? After operation. Again. But if you see in female after operation, out of the 62, 56 are not having, only 6 are having. So it says whether sex distribution. What is the hypothesis here? Sex distribution is independent of glaucoma. That is H0. What is alternative? Sex distribution depends upon glaucoma. And the result, this is chi-square. This says this is p-value. It is coming out to be, this is it, Pearson's chi-square. It is coming out to be 0.006. 0.006 is less than 0.05. So result is significant. That means sex distribution definitely is associated with glaucoma. And if I want to see which ones are having more, you can see from here. Out of 150, 40 are having glaucoma, male. But out of 62, only 6 females are having. So it is more prevalent in male as compared to female. So that's why there is association. So there is definitely association between the gender and post-PK glaucoma. That is the result of this experiment. That is called chi-square. Yes, please. Is this okay?
Sir, this is for two attributes only. Chi-square.
This is for two attributes.
And
chi-square is always for two attributes.
And then suppose for other data which are not attributes, we will have t statistics. What statistics we use?
No.
Comparison of.
Very rightly.
If you want to do the same thing for nominal values, what is the test?
Now let me just explain you. Chi-square is applicable whenever you are involved with counting. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Chi-square is applicable whenever you are involved with counting. So it's a counting of the data. If you see the slide I have shown you, counting how many males, how many females in post-PK glaucoma, yes, no, they have developed. So it's a counting. Chi-square is applicable only to counting data. And if you are applying t-test, if you are applying z-test, if you are applying proportion test, sorry, not proportion. If you are applying, let's say, non-parametric test, they are applicable for measurement kind of data or ranking kind of data. But if there is a counting involved, then the only test which is applicable is either chi-square, which is for larger frequencies. And if there are smaller frequencies, then substitute of chi-square is Fisher's exact test. And here it was counting.
What is the substitute?
Fisher's exact test. Fisher's exact test.
Sir, if we put the range of age and we can count, is it possible for chi-square test?
Can you just repeat your question?
Repeat means suppose there are age group 50 to 60 age group male or 30 to 40 age group of female.
Yeah, you can do that. You can apply chi-square. Yes, definitely.
Okay.
You can apply chi-square, definitely. Right? For example, the data which we have earlier, and let me share. Can you see my screen this or not? Screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me go back and show it to you one more time. Just give me a last moment because you are interested, so I'll show it. Cancel. And let me open the same file. Open data file, age and sex. If you remember that file very well. So go to desktop, go to SPSS PPT. This one. This is age and sex. Open. So if you make the categories, now categories will involve counting. I want to see whether the distribution of male and female is same in all the age category or not. So I can apply chi-square. These are all categorical data. There are 6 categories of male and female. So go for analysis, go for this, go for cross tab, let's say gender on rows, age code on columns, and then apply chi-square and then get the result. Whether the distribution of male female is same in all the age category or not. Check this. Now it is coming out to be, this is a larger table. You see 10 to 19, 20 to 29 and so on. So you can see here, this is the p-value. So what is the p-value here? Yes, please. What is the p-value here? Hello. What about this p-value? Can you read from this table?
Yes, sir. 0.956.
Is it less than 0.05? More than 0.05?
More than, obviously.
More than. More than means there is hardly any difference between the distribution according to the age code. That means H0 is accepted. Right? So sex distribution is independent of age code. Age code means age categories. For example, you can see 3 is here, 1 is here. So hardly any difference. 36, 30, male, female, hardly any difference. 25, 22, hardly any difference. 18, 18 is equal. 7 and 5, hardly any difference. 2 and 2. That's why it is coming out to be non-significant. Suppose this would have been 6 here and 66 here. It would have come out to be significant. You follow my point? Hello? समझ आया कि नहीं? So that's why, because there is hardly any difference in each of the age groups, so it is coming out to be non-significant. So distribution of male and female is almost same. So it is independent of the age distribution or age categories. This is what the result is. This is called chi-square. Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any other question, please? Any other question?
Sir, here can we have any idea that how to avoid the error issue in the data set?
No. You have to first of all check your data thoroughly using SOPs, standard operating procedures. Then you apply chi-square. There is no method to check in chi-square. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other question? Any other question? Any other question, please?
Hello, am I audible, sir?
Yes, please.
So, like you have said, like there are two methods. One is chi-square, and another one is chi-square is generally applied for larger set of data, and another one is for smaller set of data. So, do you have like the exact figure what would be the data set for applying chi-square and another set of data?
Yeah, if the frequencies, let's say I have a 2 by 2 table. Suppose I have a 2 by 2 table, and in 2 by 2 table, suppose there are 4 cells. There are 4 cells, right? And in all the 4 cells, your frequencies are less than 5. Less than 5.
Okay, sir.
Then then there is a Fisher's exact test which we need to apply. If all the frequencies are more than 5, you can apply chi-square. So that chi-square test is not applicable. Chi-square test is not applicable whenever frequencies becomes less than 5.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Any other question, please?
No, sir.
Yes, please. Any other question? So, if there is no question, I think time is also up, and
Sir, range